Welcome to Queerly Speaking. I'm your host, Nat Jones, and together my wife and I will navigate the complex intersections of faith, identity, love, and resilience. In each episode, we'll share stories of heartbreak, healing, and hope from individuals who were told they didn't belong in the very spaces that shaped us.
Okay. Do we have to do the intro again, or can you take the intro from that?
No, I can slice it.
Ready?
Yeah.
So when did we start watching this, honey? Sunday night? Sunday
Yeah.
night. We're in bed, and Nat's like, oh, I heard about this new documentary. Do you want to watch it? I'm like, sure. Usually it's about people getting murdered, okay? And I'm like,
I love documentaries, honestly.
why not? Who doesn't
them.
love a true crime before bed? Okay? And she's like,
Mhm.
no, it's about, what is it called?
Teen Mania.
Teen Mania. I'm like, what is that? She's like, oh, I used to go as a kid. I'm like, okay, let's watch it. Because one thing about me, if you haven't listened to the first 5 episodes or so, I don't know what the fuck she's talking about when she's talking about this biblical stuff, okay? I don't know. I never made it past the first chapter in the Bible, I don't think. I feel like I know. I don't know. All right. So anytime she's like, let's watch this documentary, I'm like, oh, this is kind of going to be fun. I can learn a little something about you, you know?
Shiny Happy Season 2. What a ride it's been.
Did you ever hear about Teen Mania?
It's like Coachella for youth groups.
It's a great place to meet other Christians.
Choir the Fire was like the thing to do with your youth group.
Music's playing, fire shooting off.
It was wild. Do you love God or do you love God?
And the founder, Ron Luce,
He's the ringmaster.
God wants to use you.
We believed we were changing the world. But then, it gets weird.
How do you know you're in a cult if that's your normal?
What the fuck is all I have to say. We were dissecting it last night just at dinner together. We're like, we have to do this on the podcast. Like, what the fuck did we just watch?
I know what the fuck I just watched because I lived it. I don't know what you're talking about.
I feel like, what the fuck did I just watch?
You need to put your mic back down and stop moving it. It needs to be under your mouth. Better. Okay.
Cut that out.
Well, it's interesting because I enjoyed watching it only because it's so interesting. You can listen to my stories and hear all about my experiences and all of that stuff. But it is totally different when you are watching it on TV and there are thousands of people who have had the same experience and you're
Yeah.
like, I think that's actually fascinating, making you watch it.
1,000%. Well, and it's like, we've even talked about this as you share on the podcast. Like, obviously, I feel like we know every detail of each other's lives. And, you know, as more time goes on, you share more and more. But you're kind of like with these things, like you're glancing over, right? Like, we're not really spending an hour at the dinner table with you being like, and then we went to a concert, and then for an hour it was this. And then he sang this song, which had these lyrics that really had this underwriting message. You know what I mean? Like, you're obviously not saying that to me, but they are saying it on the show. And I'm like, my jaw's on the fucking floor. Like, I'm in actual disbelief. And every clip, Nat's like, oh, I was there. I was there. I'm like, what the fuck? So let's back up. Honey, can you just give us, if everyone hasn't watched, you need to pause this right now. Actually, don't. Watch all the way through, like, comment, and subscribe. And then go watch it on Netflix. Is it on Netflix?
It's on Prime.
Go watch it on
Prime
Amazon
Studios.
Prime.
Well, because the first, this is the second season of this show. The first season was featuring the Duggar family.
Oh, right. I didn't
and a lot
watch
of
that,
the
but I'd like to
cover-ups
go
of
back.
the secrets of the sexual abuse of the brother and
Yep.
all of those things. It's already kind of caused an uproar. And then they decided, well, you know what? Let's talk about our lives and how we grew up in Teen Mania.
So can you tell everyone, if they haven't watched it, like, what is Teen Mania?
So Teen Mania is youth group on steroids times 50 plus states. Like,
what did they call it on the documentary? Like, Holy Coachella or something? They said something like, it was like,
no, it was
teenage Holy Coachella.
It was the Coachella of evangelical Christians. And I do think this is important to say because this doesn't encompass every type of Christian church. This is specifically evangelicals. And so I think that's important to
Yeah,
say.
for sure. For sure.
But yeah, it is. Teen Mania started as kind of like a larger youth group that turned into this mission to bring this generation, my generation, into holiness and godliness and to fight the war of evil.
I don't
And
mean to laugh. I'm sorry.
yeah. And
I had no idea we were at war. In Arizona, this message was not coming over. I had no idea over here.
It's not in Arizona. It probably wasn't happening in Arizona. It wasn't happening in your swarm of people.
Yeah,
But
my
there's
circle, we were chilling.
There's this little sink of people where, yeah, we're all battling. We're all going to war. We're putting on the army of God and we're strapping on the boots because the world is going to either end soon or we're going to get the mark of the beast on accident and go to hell forever. Or, and it's very much tied. If you know anything about Teen Mania, it was very much tied into politics. And he would, Rick would take people, the founder of Teen Mania would take people to, San Francisco and DC. And it became, not at the very beginning, but it became this like huge political movement for the Republican agenda.
So at first, I need to go back, okay?
Well,
I
I'll say-
understand.
Well, let me just
Okay,
clarify.
okay,
I
sorry,
just have to
sorry.
say this. It's the Republican agenda / adjacent. These, what was the group, the private evangelical group called the Liberty something?
Oh,
I
yeah,
can't
they said it on the
remember.
podcast. I can't remember.
Because, there's all of these evangelicals like James Dobson and people like that who had joined together working behind the scenes in the government areas to help push their agenda forward. And now it has, especially with Trump, become very, very intertwined. You can't really tell all the
Right.
difference between a Republican Party and these crazy evangelical.
And in the
people.
documentary, I think what you're saying too is these are people are self-identifying. They are saying they're doing it in the name of the Republican Party. We're not saying all Republicans are crazy evangelicals. We're saying these people were claiming to be doing it for their party.
Yeah, let me give you a little context. Okay, so earlier in the week, before we even watched the documentary, I was on TikTok, and Ludacris had a what?
I just didn't know that the post was going to be coming from Luda.
Yeah, so Ludacris, self-proclaimed Christian, had Beth Moore on his show, and if you know Beth Moore, she is a pretty prominent Bible teacher, preacher in the evangelical space.
Never heard of her.
Doesn't surprise me. And I've read a lot of Beth Moore's books. It's like she's like a Joyce Meyer, you know what I mean? Anyway, so very prominent in the evangelical space. And she was saying that it caught my attention because she was saying, that in true America today that we have somewhat destroyed the reputation of the church because whenever you get, all these people claiming they're, evangelicals, praying in tongues, doing all these things, sitting around the president with putting their hands on him, saying, this is God's way. He is God's choice. It's the only choice. They genuinely believe this and is put out to all of Americans as, listen, you're either with God or you're not. So she was just saying, she was like, it's destroyed the church because this man, one, is an awful man. And it's not one of those situations where it's like he did some bad things and then he's like really trying to be a good person now.
He's digging his
he does
heels
not
in.
give two shits.
He's 10 toes down on his bullshit.
Yeah, still to this day. And and she was just saying it's like that's not Jesus. That's not what the church should represent. And I genuinely believe that. And anyway, I was reading the comments and the shit that people were saying on those, it pulled me back into what it's like being in those circles. And it is so It's everywhere you turn, you're hearing the same information.
Yeah.
So it is very easy. I'm just going to be honest. It is very easy to be engulfed with this like evangelical message of this is the only way. You know, where Jesus says, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. Evangelicals like, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. Like they are. They think that they are. And they're pushing this agenda ahead. And on the comments, literally this lady commented, her name was Tammy, spelled differently.
Fucking always. Every controversial white woman's name is Tammy. I swear to God.
She said something like, yeah, well, you know, Trump is destined by the Lord and the Democrats are demonic.
God forbid.
The demonic Democrats.
Access to healthcare, fucking devilish behavior.
But I say that because it is a very serious thing. That's why I say it's cult, because you can't really think a different way. Like they genuinely believe that the Democrats' agenda is influenced by demonic powers. Like flat out. And I'm not talking about one comment on that post. It was like
right. We kind of got that from
tons
the
of
documentary.
comments. Yeah.
Which we can go into. But I do want to go, I think that was a good point, honey. I do want to go back. I want to know, like, what's the beginning of you getting involved in this? Okay, right. Like church, you have youth group. I do know enough about that. Okay. You guys are worshiping amongst your peers, right?
Yes.
Separate from church. Okay, I get that. Sometimes I've been to a worship night or two. Okay, the songs, that shit slaps.
It does.
You're like, yeah, all these people, everyone's hip and in a beanie, like fucking. I'm like, yeah, I love it. Okay, so I see why you're wanting to go to that. So at first, are you getting involved? Like your parents are like, oh, this is this other club. Like you should start going. This would be like a fun concert. And then it gets progressively crazier. Like you're at war, or like you go to your first event and you're like, oh, fuck yeah, wartime. Putting on my boots and going to Teen Mania.
No, honey, we've always been at war. Like,
I don't understand. Like,
I know you don't. And I
mean, the early 2000s, I didn't realize that we were like, I had no idea about this.
You have
this
to
is like the
understand
90s,
that this is in the 90s. Yes, honey. Thank you. For
I was
showing
watching
my
The
age.
Lion King.
Okay. Well, Christians have always been at war.
No, I know, honey. I know.
And so that's always been like, yes. Like, you know how many Christian songs there are about putting on the armor and going to battle?
No, I don't.
There's a lot. Okay. But everybody is like, that's a common known fact.
Right. Okay. No, I know, honey. I'm being facetious about that. But I'm saying, like, when you're getting involved in Teen Mania, because they kind of took us through, you guys will see when you watch the documentary, like the different
started with
steps,
Acquire
right?
the
Like at
Fire.
first, yeah. And you're like, oh, I've been to that. I had the shirt. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, which is like a huge concert.
Like when you
Christian
went to
concert.
that, you're just thinking good Christian concert time. Or is it like in the back of your mind, you're always in battle? Like, I just need to know, like, the people on the documentary, maybe I'm not explaining this well. Maybe you guys will get it when I'm trying to ask if you watch this documentary and you don't know about this life. Like, they take us through, they kind of begin with, Acquire the Fire. So it's like at first you're a teenage Coachella, like it's a concert. And then they're starting to talk about how other worldly events, which we'll talk about later, influence, and like every event gets like more and more like warlike, I guess. Like then they're like at a training camp, and then they're like all this crazy shit is happening to them, like they're literally in like boot camp, and then they're like at some things where like cars are on fire and shit. Like it's getting progressively more battle-ish or intense. I'm just curious, like, what's your mindset when you're going into this? Like, I don't understand that people want to know.
I think I need to help you prep the questions prior to this. Sorry. It's just like but I forget your question. No, I'm sorry. I don't.
The listeners are asking.
I know. And I forget all the listeners don't come from my world, but like, there are going to be other people who listen to this and they're like, what do you mean?
I understand. You think we're always a battle everywhere you go.
No, not me specifically anymore.
Right and left.
Yeah.
You're swatting off the devil. I get it.
But I would say, okay, let me start here. I would say that many evangelical movements, what we would call a revival movement, whatever, started probably somewhere on a good note, a good intention.
Okay, so Acquire the Fire. Good concert vibes.
Yes. This man was like, yeah, we're going to bring all the youth groups together. It's going to get big. It's going to get blah, blah, blah. So there are all these Christian bands that came, the Crowder Band, like all these bands, right?
Don't even start naming them. I'm not going to know.
Whatever. And and it was cool, and you would go and you would get t-shirts, and instead of you'd spend 4 days at this Christian concert, and they'd have preachers and teachers and all the things too. It wasn't just music, but you would do this instead of like whatever else you think they're doing. And in the same time, there's a lot of things happening at the same time. So yes, it progresses into even weirder things, but it started kind of there. And at the same time, that's when Joshua Harris's book, I Kissed Dating Goodbye, comes out.
Mm.
And I know this is very foreign to you, but in the evangelical culture, you save yourself from marriage.
Okay.
Not only do you save yourself from marriage.
She said virginity, that's foreign to you.
No. Not only do you save yourself from marriage, but you also don't date.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time understanding that.
Yeah, it's going to take me years to explain
I
some of
get
these
it.
things, but
And you guys should know that watching this documentary was much like filming these episodes. Like, we're pausing like every 90 seconds. Like, I have some follow-up questions. Because I know it's kind of like I'm making fun of it right now. Like, I'm, putting a comedic flair on it. But I do genuinely want to know. Like, I do have questions. It's just so different from the way I grew up. Like, I cannot understand being, like, at one point in the documentary, I don't want to spoil anything, but I think they show this on the preview. Like, people are going in coffins and like kind of borderline getting the shit beat out of them. And I'm thinking, like, ain't no way some old man is going to be like, Jesus told me to beat your ass today. And I'm going to be like, okay.
But it speaks to the indoctrination that
That's what I'm
happens, which I think is
saying.
why we have to back up a little bit. Like,
1,000%.
you have Joshua Harris, so you have this movement across the world, specifically America, that are like, we kissed dating goodbye. And it's like this, it's.
Were you happy with this movement? You're like, yeah, I hate this shit. I'll kiss dating goodbye.
Oh, to men?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, that's pretty easy for me. I'll kiss that goodbye yesterday. Now, what about girls? But no, it's a very serious thing. Like, in many of the families, like, you would get promise rings. Like, every child in my family that turned 13, my parents would take you to dinner. You would get a promise ring, and they would talk about how you're supposed to save yourself for the Lord and marry the Lord first.
Mm-hmm.
And, so it is a heavy indoctrination, not just within the home, but outside the home. It is your friends. Everyone's thinking the same way.
Right,
Everyone's
yeah.
doing the same thing.
Like a pack mentality.
Yeah. And when you're just like a normal person, that's the person who gets ostracized in the church.
Right.
So that all happens. Now, the Teen Mania and all of those things begin to intensify because in 1999, the Columbine shooting happens. And I specifically remember this. Obviously, I remember. But I remember even more what it did to the church.
Mm.
There were stories flying around about how the teenagers at the school were asked, do you believe in God? And then they were shot because they wouldn't renounce him. And I will be honest, I don't even know how to look into this, but according to the documentary, that wasn't even true. But I just found that out several days ago.
But I said this to you, how would they have known that was true? Like, obviously it's a horribly unfortunate tragedy, but like those people had passed on, like they were dead. They can't tell you someone put a gun to my face and asked if I like Jesus. I said no, and then they shot me dead. It's like they're not here to tell.
No, of course not. I don't think that's even logical.
Well, but okay, that's the only part of logic that's missing from this fucking documentary. Got kids in coffins.
No, I if I remember right, it was something about that someone else had heard.
Like a witness or something.
Yeah. And then it became this thing, and it became this movement in the church. Every youth group across the nation was going into this like ideology of martyring themselves for the church. And there were several things that happened during that period of time that was very significant, especially with kids my age that grew up in the church. Is one, Ray Bowles' video that I showed you.
Oh
Ray
my
Bowles was a very prominent Christian singer who wrote a lot of songs, kind of along, side Carmen that I also showed you, my very first concert.
Yeah.
That was my first exposure to rap, if that gives you any context about
I
me.
just heard it for the first time on the documentary.
But Ray Bowles wrote a song, Pledge Allegiance to Lamb. You had no idea what this was.
No, never heard in my life.
They reference it in the documentary, so we paused and we watched. And it literally is this song, and it shows a dad telling his little boy, that there's going to come a time where they're going to have to martyr themselves for Christ. And then it goes through, I still can't talk about it. It gives my whole body chills. This
I
is how
bet.
much of a
I
visceral
mean, it was scary for me to watch.
fear. And in the video, it shows different people being martyred. It shows a lady being burned, literally in 1999, a lady being burned on the stake as martyred for Christ. It shows, um, what was the other?
Oh, someone gets stoned,
Oh, yeah,
literally
someone
stoned
gets
to death.
stoned, whatever else, and it's like this song about how, like, no matter what happens, like, you pledge allegiance to the Lamb, and, at the very end of the video, it's like, you can tell it's, like, more government people coming to
It's very
get
Nazi-ish.
yeah, coming to get the dad, and then the little boy is just left on his own, and I'm like, for those of you who are listening to this, who grew up with this, you will understand, but I have not watched that video in so long, but I watched it the other day, obviously referencing it, and I'm like, "I'm gonna be sick." Like, the amount of fear that and I guess I just didn't realize it. You just these things happen to you in your life, and you go through these things, and you're just like, "Yeah, whatever, that happened," but until you're, like, a normal person with a clear head, and you're going back and you're listening and watching, you're like, "Oh my god. How many
Yeah,
kids
really
did we I
digging
mean, how many
in.
kids do we do this to?" A lot. So then
It's
right
horrible.
after that, then you have, songs like "I Can Only Imagine," and the church used Columbine to create this movement of kids who were willing to martyr themselves for Christ. And then it amps up this idea that we're going to war against evil, right? We don't have any mentions about access to guns or
Right.
access to anything like that
Mental health or
or mental
anything.
health or, and it's like, I don't know. And I just remember even specifically like, for however long, like this is something so small, but like you couldn't wear a trench coat because
Mm,
the two, um,
yeah.
yeah. And but to think about how it just specifically, I would love to know how much money the song "I Can Only Imagine" has made.
Oh, tons. My mom's, like, streaming that shit 20 times a day.
I know, but to come to find out that it's like it was all a creation. It was a story that was
I know.
created. We used a tragedy, a real tragedy, and then we used it in the church to push our agenda forward.
It's so hard because you're like, we again, pause documentary and talked about this because obviously I know about that, but I was, like, pretty young when that happened, so I didn't wasn't learning about it in real time. Like, we learned about it in school 'cause we had, like a shooter drill or whatever, and anyway, so obviously I'm familiar with what happened, but not in the same way that you are, but we kinda paused and talked about it, and I'm like, I feel like it is a double-edged sword. Like, I understand. No, I can't say understand, and I hope to God I never do, but I can only imagine. See what I did there? That if that happens to you, I mean, the loss of your child has to be the greatest loss of your life, right? Like, I can see how you're grasping for anything. Like, if you're really religious, you're like, at least they're with God, or like they died with their faith. Like, I can understand how you're trying to grapple and to do that, but then to have other people say, and maybe I'm not clear what it means to be a martyr for God, obviously, but it's like
It was
that's not
considered like
really
one
what
of the
they
high
did. Like,
it's considered one of the highest honors.
I understand that, but they were, like, innocently shot children by crazy people. Like, it's like they weren't, like, going into a battle to be like, "I'm about to risk my life to lose
No, and the
God." It's
truth
like they're going to school and then they're shot. Like, it's like you're
No, I
kinda
know.
twisting what happened to these
You're
poor children,
twisting
these poor
everything.
families in order to, like, just incite rage,
Well,
which
they're
not to get
twisting
into, but we're kind of
everything.
seeing that right now, and it's like, well, that's not really I think we're taking a little bit of the logic out of the situation, but
Well, and I think for the parents' sake, like, I can like you're saying, like, I can understand, one of the parents was on the video, I think it was Rachel's dad, and if I remember correctly, and, he was talking about that he always had felt like his daughter was
oh,
gonna be
yeah.
used for the kingdom, and obviously he never imagined that this is how it would be done. This is what the outcome would look like. But he had peace knowing, that that was what God had destined or whatever, and it's like, well,
And in
I
that
can't even tell you, like, the heartbreak it brings me for the things that we've done. When I
mm,
say we, I mean evangelical fucking Christians have done to even the grief process
Yeah.
of people who have experienced tragedy.
No, for sure. I think in that and even my comments, it's like the judgment is not towards the parents. Like, you can make up whatever or say whatever you need to get through what probably is the worst loss of your life. Like, that is your right. You get to decide that your child died for whatever you want. Like, who are we or who am I to judge how you're grieving? It's the people outside that I think see an opportunity, which does happen in cult-like behavior or situations
Mhm.
like this. We saw it on the documentary where people outside, people of power are seeing a population of weak people that are looking for anything, and then they swoop in, twist the narrative, and then activate them for whatever their agenda is. I mean,
Mhm. It's exactly what happened.
that's where my judgment is coming from, just to be clear. It's not on the
The
victims or
families.
victims' families. I mean, they can
No, I
grieve
don't
however they want.
and they're vulnerable in that state, like you're saying. It's like they should have been protected. They shouldn't have been monetized.
Right.
Yeah, God, it just enrages me, but I remember it's those types of situations added on to all of these crazy ideologies that and I wanna be really clear, I know we're, like, poking fun and all this stuff. I genuinely believed all of it with my entire being,
Yeah.
body, and soul. I believed it. I would, and I think I've shared this before, but even growing up, I was, 11 and 99, and I can't tell you how many times I asked Jesus into my heart on a nightly basis to make sure that if I died or if the rapture happened, because the documentary doesn't even touch well, it does it touch a very, very small amount of, like, the whole, end of times
Yeah.
scenario and all the
Yeah,
fear
pretty
that comes
briefly.
along with that too, but just the amount of fear that it engages in a person to motivate them, whether it's fear of hell, fear of dying, fear of not mattering, like not mattering to whatever, not being significant, um, not following God's plan for your life, like and that's why it's so often when people ask me, your parents will come around." I'm like, "No, my parents will not come around."
Yeah.
The amount of deconstruction that it takes from cult-like evangelical to, um a healthy, processing, logical person is a pretty far journey.
Yeah.
It takes work and it takes changing your environment. It takes a lot and I think we even see this that's sometimes honestly that's why politics are sometimes besides everything that's going on currently, I just mean politics in general a little bit hard for me because it has similar behavior
Mhm.
to what it was like growing up in the evangelical church where if you're we know people who I would consider more extreme on the other side, and they're constantly watching videos and they're constantly the news and the media is filling them with information that complements, what it is that they believe, and it further enrages them, and if you watch some of those are the people who are very angry, and they think,
Mhm.
like, that we're in war, and they think a lot of different things.
Yeah, and I think you see that we've talked about this too, like, on both sides of the spectrum, like, if you're
100%, yeah, no,
looking
I
for
would agree,
something
yeah.
and you're susceptible to it, like I mean, that's happened to me before where, like, all of a sudden I feel like I've watched, like, 10 videos of rage bait and I'm, like, fucking about to blow my lid, and not that there's not things to be upset about from any perspective or whatever. I'm
Yeah,
just saying, like, when you're kind of engulfed in that, engulfed in this situation, and then if you're surrounded by every single person in your life is like-minded, I
mhm,
mean, I could see how it gets
yeah,
out of control, really.
yeah. Well, and then it's like you're kind of ruled by the agenda and you don't even realize it.
Yeah.
I mean, you really are. Then that I think that's what the documentary kinda reminded me of is, like, I do believe that people are good. I also believe that there are some whacked out agendas, people working behind the scenes in every area, and for me, I'm very focused on, obviously, evangelical Christians because that is it's just been so harmful. There's been a lot of positives as well, but I think and I just wanna be clear, it's not God, it's not Jesus,
Mhm.
they're not the ones that caused the
It's
harm.
not even really religion in general, it's
No, it is like an agenda that I think is really motivated by money, and they say it's motivated by Jesus, and it's a lie.
Yeah.
It's just a lie. My parents were guilty of it. Like, most of the people that I grew up around are guilty of it. And people who even have led that agenda, Ray Bowles, for one, came out as gay, later on apologized. Joshua Harris stopped the publication of his book, I Kissed Dating Goodbye, because of the harm that it did
Mm.
on youth, and has come out and had a public apology. It's like we all do crazy shit. I have done a lot of crazy shit in the church. I have said some crazy shit to people. I have, you know, I have done a lot of things I am not proud of in the church under the guise and under the mindset, under the intent that this is the truth and this is the right way. And, there are a lot of really good people who have deconstructed and been able to see the truth and the harm that it
Mm.
does. And then there are a lot of people who are still pushing that agenda together. And the truth is that you have a group of people who are already pretty susceptible to just doing whatever they're told because we're taught obedience, like doing whatever they were told. And they can
Yeah.
say all day long, like for my dad, for example, oh, I prayed about this. This is what God told me. It's like, okay, really? Um, because it seems like that's what Trump told you, and it seems like that's probably
Right.
what everything that you've
Yeah,
believed
all
has
your other
told you,
friends
all
told
your other
you?
friends and everything else, or your interpretation of the Bible,
Mhm.
that just complements what you already think is true.
Right.
Um, but you have someone and you see it in cults like behavior, in
Sorry, this is, like, falling on my boob right now.
in, history all over. But in my opinion, it's exactly what Trump did, which is, yes, I have a problem with Trump because of what he believes, how he acts, who he is,
The
on
list goes
so like
on.
really the list goes on and on and on. But it is personally an extra thing to me because it's just so easy to see how all he has to do is go into a room and say, "You know what, guys? I got saved." And
Right.
now all the money from evangelicals are flowing in and they are captivating. And there are statistics on this. So people are going to listen to this and probably be pissed, but there are statistics on the fact that Trump won over a certain age group of white men.
Mm.
And there's a high number of white men being ushered into the church now.
Yeah.
And those things scare me more than anything
Mhm.
because I think we have so far to go, but we have come a long way in equality. We have come a long way in human rights and other things, but we cannot go backwards. And this is what this types of things happens. You think Trump gives two shits about all these different crazy beliefs that evangelicals have? Newsflash, he does not give two fucks. What he cares about is the money
Mhm.
that's in that.
And the power,
The
yeah.
power and the influence. Yeah, like if you're just someone that's looking to take power, yeah, well, take the dumb church people.
Yeah, take the people who already are used to not thinking for themselves.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to be rude. I don't mean that they're actually dumb. I mean that I was one of those people. I mean that they are truly conditioned to believe. I don't know how else to say it, but they genuinely believe that God put Trump in power, right? And it's so confusing because if you even look at the Bible and you're like, okay, yeah, did God sometimes choose people who were ungodly to be in power because he was going to use them? Yeah. And that's what they say. Okay, well, not every king was godly in the Bible, but God still used them. Okay. But Obama, he's fucking demonic. And it's like,
Right. You're like, okay.
it's just crazy. And it enrages me. And I'm still not over it. And I still can't I still have a hard time really managing through it, which is why I try to avoid talking with any friends or anyone about this as much as possible because I like I just see it in such a different way than someone who did not grow up in the church, that is not, whatever. Maybe they go to a really friendly church on Sundays and they read their Bible. That's about it. It's like you have no idea.
Yeah, it's
You have no idea. And it's, I can't.
I do agree with everything that you've said. I think again, it's like that kind of pack mentality thing. It's like, right, like in your community, I get the impression from what you said in this, it's like really it's like one person needs to say God spoke to them, told them something, and then you got like 120, like the whole congregation's like, oh yeah, following that message. So it's like it's easy to, Trump in this case, but whoever it is, to win someone over because you're like, really, I got to get like 5 people and they're going to bring me 10,000,
Yeah.
because they just follow each other. But I would, kind of make a conclusion. And like you said, I know I'm poking fun at it a lot specifically, but I really would encourage people to watch a documentary because I also found it enraging, but it does kind of help. I just think those things just show a picture of how it's like such a slippery slope into getting to like, I could see how you're like, oh, my friends run the church. They'd like, do you want to come to this like epic Christian concert? And I'd be like, sure. And then all of a sudden, like, you're the kid that's in a call. Like, you know what I mean? It's like it starts slow and then just kind of takes over. And I think watching those, it helps me understand you more. Like, even when things come up in the past, or things, not the past, excuse me, things come up in our current life that are kind of triggering to you religiously or politically or whatever. And we do, our values are completely the same, which is fantastic. But sometimes I'm like, why are you so, like, I'm really upset about this right now? Or like, this is really like triggering to you or something. Then I'm able to watch these documentaries. I'm able to see like, well, yeah, no shit. That would be it's a much different pinch point for you than it is for me just because of our different experiences. So all that to say, I would really encourage everyone to watch it. Get your popcorns. It's fucking crazy. You might need to get some tissues, depending on if you're on my side or your side. I don't know what
Yeah.
you might need. You might need a couple days after. It is crazy, but yeah, it's just to say, like, we always say this to each other, but I feel like, in my opinion, like organized religion or things like that is like you just took a good thing and you just like went 500 steps too far.
So did Jim Jones and the Kool-Aid, so
What?
if you know, you know.
Thanks so much for listening, guys.